You are in a war right now that you cannot win. You have been in it for years, maybe decades. You have given it your energy, your sleep, your health, your peace, your best hours and your worst nights. You have thrown everything you have at this war, and it has not moved. It has not surrendered. It has not changed. It has just taken what you gave and asked for more. And you keep giving. Because you were raised to fight. You were raised to believe that walking away is the same as losing, that surrender is weakness, that the person who stops fighting is the person who failed. And so you keep going, exhausted, bleeding from places nobody can see, fighting a war that was never yours to win. Today I am going to name 5 of those wars, 5 battles that every person over 60 is still fighting that cannot be won. Not because you are weak, not because you didn't fight hard enough, because the battles themselves are unwinnable. They were unwinnable the day they started, and every day you continue to fight them is a day you spend losing a war instead of winning a peace. And the peace, I promise you, is better than anything the victory could have given you, if the victory were even possible, which it is not. My grandmother said something to me when I was young and angry and fighting everything and everyone. She said, "A wise warrior does not fight every battle that comes to him. A wise warrior looks at the battle and asks 3 questions. Can I win this? Is it mine to fight? And will winning it give me something worth the cost?" If the answer to any of those questions is no, the wise warrior walks away. Not in shame, in strategy. Because a warrior who exhausts himself on a battle he cannot win is not available for the battle he can. She said, "Your energy is not infinite. It is a river. And a river that is diverted into 5 dry fields produces nothing. But a river that flows in one direction can carve a canyon. Stop diverting. Start flowing. Choose the one fight that matters and let the others dry up behind you." The first battle you must stop fighting after 60 is the battle to change someone. You have been trying to change a person in your life for decades. Your spouse, your child, your sibling, your friend. You have been pointing out the same flaw, having the same conversation, giving the same advice, expressing the same frustration for 10 or 20 or 30 years. And the person has not changed. They didn't change when you yelled. They didn't change when you cried. They didn't change when you gave them an ultimatum. They didn't change when you gave them the silent treatment. They didn't change when you wrote them a letter. They didn't change when you begged. 30 years of evidence, and you are still showing up to the same battlefield expecting a different result. That is not persistence. That is denial. The person is who they are. They were who they are before you started trying to fix them. They will be who they are after you stop. I knew a woman who spent 28 years trying to get her husband to open up emotionally. 28 years of books left on his nightstand about communication. 28 years of suggesting therapy. 28 years of fights that ended with her saying, "You never talked to me," and him saying, "I don't know what you want me to say." 28 years. And the man never changed. Not because he didn't love her, because the thing she was trying to change was not a behavior, it was a structure. The man was built by a generation and a father and a culture that poured the concrete of his emotional architecture before he was 10 years old. And she was standing at that concrete wall with a garden spade trying to dig through it, and the spade was breaking before the concrete was. She was not fighting her husband. She was fighting his entire history, his father's silence, his grandfather's silence, the whole lineage of men who expressed love through labor and protection and presence, but never through words. That wall was not hers to break, and the 28 years she spent trying were 28 years she could have spent learning the language the man was already speaking, the language of showing up, of fixing things, of sitting in the room even when the room was uncomfortable. He was speaking. She just couldn't hear him because she was listening for words, and he was speaking in actions. Stop trying to change the people you love. Not because they are perfect, because the change you are asking for is not available through the method you are using. You cannot love someone into becoming someone else. You cannot argue someone into becoming someone else. You cannot guilt someone into becoming someone else. People change when the pain of staying the same exceeds the comfort of staying the same. And that calculation happens inside them, on their timeline, according to their pain threshold, not yours. Your timeline is irrelevant. Your pain threshold is irrelevant. Your desire for them to be different is irrelevant. The change, if it comes, will come from inside them, not from your pushing. And the 30 years you spent pushing could have been 30 years of peace, 30 years of accepting the person in front of you as they actually are, instead of who you wish they would become. 30 years of putting down the spade and sitting next to the wall instead of trying to break through it. My grandmother said, "You cannot straighten a tree that grew crooked by pushing it. You can only break it." She said, "The crooked tree is not broken. It grew toward the light that was available to it. And the direction it grew was the only direction it could grow, given where it was planted." The person you were trying to change grew toward the light that was available to them, their parents, their culture, their pain, their survival. They are not crooked because they are deficient. They are crooked because their light came from a different angle than yours. And pushing them toward your angle does not straighten them. It snaps them. Or it snaps you. Or it snaps the relationship. Something always breaks when you try to force a living thing into a shape it was not grown for. Let the tree be crooked. Stand next to it. Appreciate the shade it gives even if the trunk isn't straight. And save your energy for a battle you can actually win. Before I share the next teaching, I need to tell you something. I am not going to be here forever. And most of what I know was never written anywhere. So I sat down and I wrote it. All of it. 20 teachings, 4 parts in the order they were meant to be received. The ones about knowing when to fight and when to walk away. The ones about finding peace in the battles you release. The ones I have never said on camera. It is called The Native Way, and it costs less than one dinner you will not remember. Scan the code on your screen or look in the comments. But do not leave yet, because the next 4 battles are the ones that are draining you right now, and you may not even realize you are fighting them. The second battle you must stop fighting after 60 is the battle to be right. You have an argument with someone from 5 years ago that still lives inside you, not because the argument was important, because you were right, and the other person never admitted it, and the not admitting is what keeps the war alive. You replay it. You add better lines. You perfect your case. You rehearse what you should have said. You present evidence to an empty courtroom inside your head. And the verdict never comes. Because the jury, the other person, has left the building. They are not thinking about the argument. They moved on 5 years ago. And you are still standing in the courtroom arguing your case to an empty room. Being right is one of the most expensive things a person can insist on. It costs friendships. It costs marriages. It costs holidays that were ruined because someone couldn't let the small thing go. It costs Thanksgiving dinners where 2 people sat at opposite ends of the table because neither would say I was wrong, even though both have forgotten what the original fight was about. The need to be right has a price. And after 60, the price has gotten higher than you can afford. because you are paying with time, and time is the one currency you are running out of. Every hour you spend relitigating a dead argument in your head is an hour that could have been spent in peace. And peace, at this stage of your life, is worth more than being right about anything. Anything. My grandfather said, a man who must be right in every conversation will be alone in his final room. Because nobody wants to sit with a person who turns every exchange into a trial. Nobody wants to share a meal with a prosecutor. Nobody wants to call a person who cannot hear a different opinion without loading their response like a weapon. The need to be right pushes people away with the precision of a machine. It doesn't miss. And by the time you are 80, if the machine has been running for 20 years, the room will be empty, and you will be right, and alone. And the rightness will not keep you warm. The third battle you must stop fighting after 60 is the battle against your own body. You are at war with your reflection. You are at war with the pain. You are at war with the slowness, the stiffness, the things you used to do that you can no longer do, the body that used to obey without question and now negotiates every request. You fight it. You push through the pain. You refuse to use the cane. You reject the help. You say, I'm fine, when you are not fine, because admitting that the body has changed feels like admitting that you have lost. And so you fight against your own joints, against your own limitations, against the reality that the body you have at 65 is not the body you had at 40, and it will never be that body again, no matter how hard you push. This battle is not just unwinnable, it is destructive, because fighting your own body means living in a state of war with the one thing that is carrying you through every day. You are fighting your own vehicle. The vehicle is dented. The vehicle is slower. The vehicle makes noises it didn't used to make. But it is the only vehicle you have. And the person who fights their own vehicle, instead of adapting to its new capabilities, spends more energy on the war than on the driving. And the driving is what matters, not the speed. The driving, where you go, what you see, who you carry. Those things are available to you at any speed, in any body, with any number of limitations. The body changed. It didn't die. And the space between changed and dead is enormous, and that enormous space is where your remaining life lives. Stop fighting the vehicle. Learn its new gear ratio. Discover what it can still do, and drive it with gratitude instead of resentment. Because the body that carried you for 60 years without you once thanking it deserves something better than a war. I want to tell you what happens when you stop fighting the body. Because I have done it. For years I fought my knees. My knees started to go in my 50s, and I spent a decade angry about it. Angry every time I couldn't do what I used to do. Angry at the stairs. Angry at the hills. Angry at the ground for being uneven. And the anger did nothing. The knees did not improve because I was angry at them. The knees did not hear my frustration and decide to heal. The knees just hurt. And my anger just made the rest of me hurt too. The knees plus the anger equaled twice the pain. And then one morning I decided to stop. Not to stop moving, to stop fighting. I looked at my knees the way I would look at a friend who had served me loyally for 50 years and was finally asking for accommodation. And instead of demanding the old performance, I adapted. I took the flat path instead of the hill. I used the railing without shame. I sat when I needed to sit. And a strange thing happened. When I stopped fighting the body stopped fighting me. The pain didn't disappear, but it decreased. Because half of the pain had been resistance. My body was saying slow down, and I was saying no. And the collision between those two forces was producing pain that neither one was responsible for alone. The moment I stopped colliding with my own body, the pain dropped to what was real instead of what was manufactured by the war. The fourth battle you must stop fighting after 60 is the battle to control your children's lives. They are grown. They have been grown for decades, and you are still fighting, still advising when nobody asked, still worrying about decisions that are not yours to make, still lying awake at night because your daughter married the wrong person, or your son took the wrong job, or your grandchildren are being raised in a way you disagree with. You feel the pull to intervene, the pull to correct, the pull to say something, because you can see what they cannot see, because your experience tells you where this road leads, because you love them so deeply that watching them walk towards something painful feels like being asked to stand still while someone you love walks into traffic. But they are not walking into traffic. They are walking into their own life, their own mistakes, their own lessons, the same way you walked into yours when your own parents tried to stop you and couldn't. You didn't listen to your parents either, not because you didn't love them, because the lessons had to be lived, not heard, experienced, not warned against. And your children are doing what you did, living it. And the most loving thing you can do, the hardest, most unnatural, most painful act of love available to a parent after 60 is to step back. Not step away, step back. Stay close enough to catch them if they fall, but far enough to let them walk, on their own legs, in their own direction, even when the direction scares you, especially when the direction scares you, because the direction is theirs. And their direction is not your responsibility. Your responsibility was to build the legs. You built them. The legs work. Now trust them. I knew a man who could not do this. He could not step back. His daughter married a man he did not approve of, and for 15 years the father fought. Fought at every dinner. Fought at every holiday. Fought through remarks and silences and the strategic absence from events where the husband would be present. 15 years of war against a man his daughter had chosen. And in those 15 years, the father did not lose the battle against the husband. He lost the daughter, because the daughter, forced to choose between her father's approval and her own marriage, chose her marriage. The way any person chooses their present over their past when the past demands that the present be dismantled. And the father sat in his house, victorious in his rightness and alone in his kitchen. He was right about the husband. The marriage did eventually struggle, but being right cost him 15 years with his daughter. 15 years of birthdays he missed. 15 years of grandchildren growing without him. 15 years of a daughter who loved him but could not be near him because his love came with a condition, and the condition was that she live her life according to his blueprint. The battle was won. The war was lost. And the thing he lost, the relationship with his daughter, was worth more than every point he scored against her husband. But he could not see that while the battle was raging. He could only see it after the silence settled. And by then, 15 years were gone. You cannot get years back. You can only stop spending them on battles that cost more than they are worth. The fifth battle you must stop fighting after 60 is the battle to earn your worth. You are still trying to prove yourself, still trying to demonstrate that you matter. Still showing up to situations where your value is not recognized and working twice as hard to be seen. Still performing for an audience that either doesn't exist or doesn't care. Still operating on the belief that your worth is something that must be earned, refreshed, and reproven every single day, or it will expire. That belief was installed in you when you were young. It was installed by a world that measured you by what you produced. And you have been feeding that belief for 60 years. Every promotion was food. Every compliment was food. Every acknowledgement was food. And now the promotions have stopped. The compliments are rare. The acknowledgments have dried up. And the belief is starving, and you are scrambling to feed it. Volunteering not for joy, but for recognition. Giving not for love, but for approval. Showing up not because you want to, but because disappearing feels like proof that you no longer matter. You matter, right now, reading this, sitting in your chair, having produced nothing today, having earned nothing today, having proven nothing today. You matter, not because of what you did, because of what you are. And what you are is a person who has lived long enough to earn a worth that no longer requires daily proof. A tree that has been standing for 60 years does not need to prove it is a tree. It stands, and its standing is its proof. You have been standing for 60 years, through storms and droughts and seasons that would have killed a lesser tree, and you are still here. That is your worth. Not the fruit you produce, not the shade you provide, not the usefulness of your wood. You're standing. You're surviving. You're being here after everything that tried to make you not be here. That is enough. Stop fighting to prove what is already proven. Stop earning what was already paid for. Stop performing for an audience that is not coming. And stand, quietly, in your own worth. The way a tree stands in a field that is occupied for 60 years, not asking permission, not seeking applause, just standing. Because standing, after everything, is the most powerful thing you can do. If what you heard today stayed with you, the book is there. The Native Way. 20 teachings, 100 pages, written the way I would speak to you if we were sitting together. Scan the QR code on the screen with your phone or find the link in the comments. Read one chapter. Sit with it. Now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, which battle are you finally ready to walk away from? I read every comment. And if this is the kind of conversation you have been looking for, subscribe to this channel. We are not collecting viewers here. We are collecting people who remember. Come back next week. I am not done teaching yet.